Hello, my name is Pacha and welcome finally to our tour of the completed Tiergarten Edelwald. It was a long time and a long journey since we started this, I think 2 years ago, around 2 years ago, but now we are finally completed. We finished the zoo with our last habitat 2 weeks ago. And this time, or this video, is the full complete tour showing you everything, every animal, every bits and piece of this whole project that I've built in these last 2 years. And yeah, it's a lot. And I hope I'm already saying that the performance is okay. I don't know if I'm paused now. I'm not paused. Let's let it run. That the performance is okay and it runs as smooth as it can be. I have quite low FPS, so yeah, we pray for the best and I hope that everything works out. And another thing I want to tell, this a little of the scope basically. This is a big zoo. First of all, this is modeled heavily after the real life zoo of Tiergarten Schönbrunn, which is the zoo of Vienna in Austria. Most parts, a lot of parts, I will say 80 to 90% of the whole zoo are modeled after this real life zoo with the habitats inspired by the real life zoo. They're basically creations of that zoo's habitats for these animals. Sprinkled in are some of my own creations, some ideas from other zoos I've visited, and then you basically have a mix and mash out of it that is then my zoo, Tiergarten Edelwald, set in an undisclosed country somewhere between Austria, Germany, and Switzerland. So we are a German-based, German-speaking country basically, but it's not set in any of these three specifically. It could be, but it could also not be. It's basically up to your imagination where the zoo could be located. But it is inspired after the zoo of Schönbrunn in Vienna. Meaning it is quite a lot of stuff on a small space if you know the real zoo of Schönbrunn, which isn't that big in terms of square meters and hectares, but has a lot of stuff in it. And the same goes for my zoo. I think I counted, I did a count of how many in-game species we have in the zoo, and it came out around 45 species, so 45 individual species that we have in the game are represented in this zoo, and not counting all the fake species or the made-up species like bird props or other props that we use in the zoo to represent animals that we don't have as living, breathing species basically running around, though they are not counted. And I think in terms of individual animals, so individual animals, we have I think around 200 in here. I think my market, my storage says over 200, says around 200 species that we have in the zoo. So it's a lot of animals. It's a lot of animals, not of pieces. So this means you will notice some cuts. I will get to the tour in a second, but you will notice some cuts throughout the tour where I will stop and then restart or continue the tour at some point. And that is always when I will take out some of the animals that we have already seen and put in some of the animals that we haven't seen yet. Because if I would put all 45 species of animals in here, all 200 animals, this zoo wouldn't probably run anymore. So I will do cuts. I will take out animals from areas that we have already seen, put in animals from new areas that we will tour in a moment, and then we will continue the tour. We will tour these areas, and then so on and so on until we finish the whole zoo. This also means at some point, in some places, we might see a habitat in the distance that is empty at that moment because I took out the animals, but I always try to keep a coherent look so that all the animals in that specific area, part of the zoo, are there and you see all of them. And also, last thing for all of you, I know you ask for it, this zoo, as this video goes live, is now available on the workshop. So down in the description of this video, or if you know my workshop page, you can now find a link to that zoo. You can find two links. Why there are two links? That is because I will upload this zoo in two different ways. I will upload the zoo with all the animals in here, with all 45 species, all 200 animals in it. Warning, it is a big zoo. It's a heavy load of FPS and performance that you need to run this zoo. So the zoo with all animals in is only for people with a strong PC. And then I will also upload a version of the zoo without any animals. So the empty zoo without any animals, with only the empty habitats, and then you can put them in as you please. Every habitat has a sign and a sign to it that shows which animal it has in it. I will also during the tour probably say here and there if you have to make specific placements of the animals to make them functional, because in some places you need to transport the animals once they are in the habitat to a specific location to make them be able to use the habitat. So 2 versions of the zoo are on the workshop, one with animals, one without animals. It will say in the title, users be warned, both versions are very piece heavy and very performance heavy, so only open them or download them if your PC is capable of handling that. You will probably notice when you download Zoo and will not open or will load for all eternity, you will notice that your PC isn't able to handle that much load. I tried to make it as cost efficiency as possible in some places, but in the end it's still a lot of pieces and stuff that is in the zoo. So that is I think everything you need to know before we start the zoo. It's on a workshop. There will be cuts throughout the video for me to reduce the performance need of this zoo to make it as smooth as possible. And there's a lot of animals in here, so we have a lot to see about. I hope this tour isn't 2 hours long or anything. I don't know that at the moment. We will see how it comes in the end. But let's start our tour of Tiergarten Edelwald. And we start right here at the main entrance. There are 2 entrances to this zoo. If you didn't follow my speed builds, this is the main entrance. I will not turn around because there's nothing behind me. There's just some trees for the background. And this is our main entrance with the historic gate and these historic houses. Basically, a little photo point here where you can take a picture with a lion. Maybe it was a famous lion that they had in the zoo. Some zoos have that. They have very specific animals like Knut, the polar bear from Berlin Zoo. So they have a little memory of that here. But before we enter, we of course have to buy a ticket. So we go into the ticket booth. It's rather empty today, so we can just skip the lines. We buy a ticket. I would have 1 ticket, please. Thank you very much. And then we can, with this nice music in the background. I hope it's not too loud. I think I turned down the music or the in-game sound a little bit, so you are not blasted into the ears. And you get some information. Can I have maybe a tour plan, please? Thank you very much. And now we can step right into the zoo. And this is basically the historic part of the zoo with all the historic Renaissance-esque, Baroque-esque buildings. Later we will come into the more modern area. But we first start in the historic center of the zoo, and the first things we will look at today is the Australian area. We will look at the South Africa house. We will look at the giraffe and the giraffe house, our little Japanese area, as well as the sun bears. Of course, the sun bears will be our last stop on this first part of the tour. But before we do that, let's go into our zoo shop, my goodness. And this is one of several shops that I have throughout the zoo, where you can pick up bits and pieces that you like. You can buy some merchandise, but you can also take a look through this window, and you already see this little sneak peek of our little Australian area, also of a big Australia area, where you can see the redneck wallabies jumping around, as well as the outside part of the koalas. And talking about the koalas, we will talk about them in a moment. We can see coming right at us. We have our wallabies, which is very cool that they come right up to the window. And interior basic. I could do, I think, much more with this space. And I'm not always the best with interior spaces, but it functions basically. It was what I wanted to achieve with it, so it does its job. So where we do go first, I think we start on the right side with South Africa house, giraffes and Japanese area, and then we go to the left side. So let's first jump into the South Africa house, which is modeled after the, I think, East Africa house is called in. We will free you, my little friend. The East Africa house, or the East Africa house in Schönbrunn, and it features meerkat in our version and the Vanderdecken hornbill. If I find him, he should be hiding somewhere. There he is, Vanderdecken hornbill, which is of course not an in-game animal but made out of in-game props. And here we have our little meerkats running around. And it was really a challenge to make everything traversable for them, despite them being so small. And you can already see in the background, you could see the giraffe walking in the background, which is very cool. That you can sometimes see our giraffes walking there. But yeah, it features two sides. This part could also be closed because it's also in-game interior area for another animal that you will see in a second. But yeah, this is for now the area for our meerkats, indoor area for meerkats, and then they also have an outdoor area over there, which they can use. And I hope he doesn't or she doesn't scoop up any of the meerkats. We also of course have a termite mound, as it's pretty common in meerkat exhibits, that you have a meerkat or that you have a fake termite mound because they use them, they feed on them. Sadly they can't in-game, but it's still something I wanted to feature here. And then we also have some information with the wonderful signs from Lion. You will see them throughout the zoo, these signs that he made. They are also in the workshop. We will feature them quite a lot. So these are our meerkats. So we are moving on, not stepping on the ground here. And I think we need something to drink before we continue, so we hop in one of our cafes over here, where you can grab some milkshakes, some cupcakes, or some coffee. Just a little side cafe that you can visit if you want to. You can sit inside or outside, and then you can enjoy the weather and the sun and everything in between. So now we come to our outside area of the meerkats, as well as one side of our giraffe habitat, where we can see one sleeping there inside next to the door, and we also see the inhabitants of the second side, or of the other side of the meerkat habitat, which are the ground hornbills. I think it's a southern ground hornbill model that I have here, which would be housed on the other side of the meerkat house, but they can also free roam in the giraffe exhibit. Similar to what they do in Tiergarten Schönbrunn, where they also can free roam. And there's a picture of me standing right in the spot in the real zoo, and the hornbills were right up the glass, and I could have touched them if I wanted to, which wouldn't be the best idea. Before we go to the giraffe park in the inside, we have our little Japanese area here with two species. And the first one that comes up on this side is the raccoon dog. There we are. Prominently displaying themselves up here. And there's the other one, their partner. Yeah, this is our raccoon dog habitat. Very much inspired by the rural landscape, basically, of Japan. That's also where we have this little hut over here, inspired by the buildings in the Japanese land area. And not really the palace things and big buildings and castles, but I wanted to be a bit more rural, a bit more land-sided. So I decided to go for a much less themed space basically, and we can also see them from the other side. If we before we will go over there, we explore this part because I want to show you everything. But you can also, of course, go on that bridge. But before we do that, we have a little bird cage over here. For this, I now noticed that that past Patcher did an oopsie, and he didn't include any signs of what species are in here. But I know for one, this is a Bali Nimar. Mir, I think. So we have a lot of Asian birds in this aviary. Which is something I did throughout the zoo, having aviaries of birds, of different birds throughout the zoo, because they are very much a staple, and something I hope we will see in the next game. But we also can take a look at here, which shows the inside area, the backstage area of our red-crowned cranes, which we will see in a moment. So just a basic indoor area over here with a little pool where we would house them. For things, if there's a bird flu, or if they have to be housed, if they have chicks or something like that, we can house them in here. We also have another viewing opportunity on this side where we can look at the cranes through the mesh. And we have this little mural over here, which I thought it would depict red-crowned cranes, but now but these are geese, but they also have the spot, the red spot on the head. So I don't know what Frontier did here. It's one of the base game items, but it looks like a mesh between a goose and a red-crowned crane. Maybe someone who knows Japanese birds better can tell me what they are supposed to be. But let's step up through the Torii Gate, my very own Torii Gate, because we didn't have a good one in the game, and there wasn't a good one on the workshop. And let's step onto the bridge, which is modeled after the Asian zigzag bridges. In case you didn't know, often you find bridges like these in these zigzag forms, because there's a belief that ghost and evil spirit can only walk in straight lines, so you would make these bridges in this form so the ghost couldn't follow you. And here we have another look at our raccoon dogs on this side. One is sleeping up there. I don't know where the other one is, probably somewhere hiding in the grass or also sleeping. And on the other side we have our red-crowned cranes walking in their little pond with another Torii Gate and this little island with the tree, which I think is a very nice, photo point. Looks very something like you would imagine from a Japanese landscape near the temple, something like that, with these pine trees that are bent from all the ages in the wind, and then you have the Torii Gate and the temple structures. I think it's very, very nice. And if you want to know more about more inspirations and details about habitat, watch the fitting speed build episode of when I build these habitats, because then in them I talk more about my inspirations, my ideas behind them, much more in detail than I do here, because I can't remember everything that I talked about in the last 2 years. So if you want to know even more, I highly recommend watching the episodes, because there I talk about that quite a lot in detail and explain everything. But yeah, our red-crowned cranes, originally I planned also to have a swan in here, but there was a little bit of a bug where when the swan was in, the red-crowned cranes couldn't use the enrichment item for some reason, because the swan couldn't reach it, and so I decided against the swan. The idea was that it was just a wild swan that came into here, but in the end I decided just to go with the red-crowned cranes. I think that is more than enough. Following this, we come along here where we have a Buddhist bell tower. I try not to land on a roof today, but we have a Buddhist bell tower, something, a little bit of theming basically, where we have this bell tower and some explaining texts to tell you what it is about and why it looks like that way. And then we can go down here through the bamboo forest with more Torii Gates, and we can have another look, another viewpoint for our raccoon dogs that are still sleeping. Apparently, where's the second one? I don't know where the second one is. It's not visible. It's there, behind there. So it's walking somewhere there in the high grass. So we have another viewpoint of 2 for our raccoon dogs, and as well as a tanuki that I think's Leaf made. I'm not sure anymore. I think Leaf made that one. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, we have a little tanuki, of course, because they are highly raccoon dogs, also known as the tanuki, are highly tied to Japanese beliefs. And then we emerge on this side with a little bonsai, a little cherry blossom garden, little stone garden, Japanese garden over here to fill out that space, and another aviary where we have some species of bird in here, where I didn't put in a sign. I think we have some keas in here. Yeah, we have some keas in here, like in the real life version of Chembrun. They also have keas in this aviary. And before we walk through this door, we take the main entrance to the door. So we walk around side here, and we enter our giraffe park, Giraffenpark in German, giraffe park. And still one of my favorite buildings in the whole zoo. It was a big challenge to build everything with the curved roof, the glass roof. And as I said, I talk a lot about the design choice behind this building in that episode, but it is very energy efficient. It is producing its own heat for the giraffes in the nighttime. Very much built with ecosystems in mind. So it's a very cool building. And first we have this lower area over here. We also have some landscaping to get you in the mood of the dry environment of the giraffes. And we also can see a connection to the old building of the giraffes that is still there, because it is protected, a protected building, listed building, so they couldn't tear it down, so they extended it basically to make a bigger space for the giraffes. And on this side we have some more information, And here we can exit it, but we want to continue. Of course, we have an elevator and then some information about here, about different giraffe products basically. And also we have a giraffe skull over here. And we can go upstairs to the viewing, to the gallery basically, where we can get really up close. If the giraffe wants to be up close, we can get really up close on eye level with the giraffes up here. You also can see the green roof and the solar panels and this big fake baobab tree in the middle that acts as the transporter for all the heat and all the energy throughout the building, as well as the connection to the old house. Really cool. I really love it, like how everything is curved here. Everything is curved towards the window. As I said, it was a lot of work doing that. And giraffes can get out, in and out if they want to. And I'm still very much in love with the whole building and everything, and that nothing is really much straight. Also this side, the door side is also curved entirely, so the doors are curved. I think these are some of the only straight parts in this building, in this glass area. So everything is curved here, the roof is curved, everything. And I'm really love how that turned out. So let's move down here. And we will not go through here, we will later go to this area. So we will track a little bit back, you will have a little bit of backtrack in the zoo if you want to see basically everything. So we get back to the main area path. In German, animals may bite, Tiere können beißen. Of course, when you have the ground hornbill there, you need these signs. And now we finished the right side of the entrance. Now we go over to the left side and enter the koala house in German. And this is our koala area with the koalas. In my original video where I built this house, they still could use all the climbing frames and get around. At some point after that, it broke for some reason. Now they're basically stuck on the ground here. One is outside. I placed one outside and one placed inside. They are not really able to move. I don't know what changed. I didn't change literally anything in the build itself, but they are a little bit stuck over here. And it's koalas. Koalas are weird in this game. I hope the next installment of the game, Planet Zoo 2, will fix that. But we have our little koala house over here, with a little bit of Australian theming with the thatch roof, and we have two sides, of course. If we need to separate the koalas, if they're not in breeding season, we need to separate them, and we also have some cameras to make sure nothing evil happens, nothing mischievous happens. We have the skylights to give some natural light over here, and we already saw the outside of the koalas. We will see that again in a moment. But this is our koala house, where they also, of course, cannot get outside on this side to enter their outside area. Really nice. I still love the design of it. It's just a shame that they can't use it really. I would wish that would be a possibility. And if we move outside and around here, we let's go this down first and then we go back a little bit. We have our first viewing opportunity for the sun bear exhibit with two sun bears, a pair and their baby over there, which can of course also be separated. This is one side which features a little pool and some climbing, of course. Maybe can I change the sun a little bit? Yeah, this is better. And then in the real life version of this zoo in Schönbrunn, this is a panda bear exhibit. I didn't want to include panda bears, so I changed it to sun bears. Nowadays I would probably change it for something else, like maybe spectacle bears, but I never built for the sun bear really, so I decided to go for that. And if we go along here, we also have our giraffes on this side. I think there's a feeding season at the moment. They are getting fed. You also have an access gate here for the keepers, where they can bring in food and care for the animals. So we have 3 giraffes in here. One male, 2 females. And if we follow along the path, you of course get another view at the giraffe and their old building, their old style building, which they still use, but is way too small. Now they of course have the extension. And on the other side, we have another look at the sun bears with this little area over here where we also see a feeder for them, which they can use. We will not continue alongside this path, because that will be for the next part. So we track back a little bit, and we go into this little plaza over here, which will then lead us to the indoor area of the sun bears, as well as our wallaby exhibit. Here we have an access area for or the entry area for the keepers. And before we go there inside, we can look at our wallabies. And you notice these high fences over here. This was made because previously we only had the glass fence, but then we noticed, okay, the wallabies can jump out, and we don't want that really. They're not dangerous to the visitors per se, but you wouldn't really want a wallaby jumping freely around in your zoo. So we placed up this fence over here to prevent them from climbing outside. But you also get a closer look at the outside area of the koalas. There he's sitting in this shaming corner because he doesn't want to climb. He could climb, it shows as blue, so he could potentially climb it, but he refuses to do so. So he's sitting in the corner of shame over there until he changes his mind. But yeah, this is our little, very simple wallaby enclosure, which features a bachelor group of wallaby. No females in here, all males, because we don't breed the wallabies, so we only have males in here. And yeah, it's very basic. We also have this little shelter over here, as well as the normal indoor shelter on this side. And it's very basic. It's just a small Australia area in the entrance to bring in the guests. And yeah, I think it serves its purpose. So let's step in to the indoor area of the sun bears, where we also have some signage as well on both sides, as well as two separate areas for them. I don't know in the history what this house was before it was converted into a bear house, basically, but it still features a lot of the old style furniture with all the tiles on the wall and the concrete. We just filled up probably the moats or whatever this was with some mulch and other earth materials to create more space for them, and added some climbing trees, basically climbable trees for them. And then also on the sides you have the access to the indoor area, the behind the scenes area for the bears, the separation cages. This is just a showcase indoor area, and then you would have another indoor area where we would separate them. And then of course you also have the doors to let them outside. They sadly can't use the door to get outside. It's not traversable for them, but in real life they would totally not have a problem with that. But yeah, very basic, very a little bit empty, but if you have a lot of guests in the zoo, you need empty space. Need a lot of empty space because it gets filled up with people, so that is totally fine. And the last two things we want to take a look at is another little viewing area over here for the sun bears, a little secluded viewing area for the bamboo. You can get a close look at the sun bears if they are on this side, for example, as well as the Rattenhaus, or the rat house in English, which is a building featuring various species of rat. For example, I don't know what this one was, but this is the Lucerne giant cloud rat, as well as the common city rat, common gray rat, which is not here at the moment. I forgot to put back in the blueprint for them, but this is their little exhibit. So we have 3 different rat species in this habitat. One tropical, one more desert, and it also features this red light. Basically, when I turn it to nighttime, it is basically a night house, because most of these species are nocturnal. So you have the red light to make it visible for them, and that's also why we have this curtain over here, and we go on around the corner. We also have this little viewing window over here, so that not much light is coming in, basically, and they are in total darkness. Yeah, this is our little rat house. Well, let me change the light of day today again. And our last stop on the first part of the tour is the hippo house. So we cross over to another one of the main paths, basically, of this area, where we previously would have an access gate. Maybe this was another entrance in the olden times. Now it's just more like a vehicle access, or access for deliveries coming in. And we first take a look at this area over here, where we still can see remnants that this was a previous panda habitat, but maybe they lost the rights. Maybe China didn't want to give them any more pandas, so they converted it to a sun bear habitat, but they still have the statue up here. We have that sometimes in real zoos where they forget to take down some scenery, some theming, and you still have some mismatching theming and scenery in the places, but this is the other side of our sun bear exhibit on this side. And on the other side we have our renovated hippo exhibit, which was just recently finished basically. Here we have our hippos, one of our hippos at least. The other one is in the water. But yeah, we can get really up close to the hippos. Only the rocks preventing the hippos from getting to you, but you could get up really up close to them. Yes, I hear you. And yeah, this is our small but sizable hippo exhibit, which you could also separate. There are bars in the water, for example, and you could put up barriers to separate this space over here from the other space, to separate the male from the female if that needs to be happening. And you also, the indoor area, which we will look at in a second, is also separated. First off, we have this little cage, which is one of the old cages from the very olden times, and this represents basically what animals would be housed, or what the size of habitat would be, and which animals would be housed here. For example, this was a bear cage, so this was the amount of space they would have given bears back in the day, nothing more than that, and that was deemed suitable for the species back then, and we keep them as remnants and memories of that time, so that people learn how far we have come as zoos and as institutions to protect animals and give them better environments. Here we have a little backstage area, nothing much to see there, just some clutter lying around and some tools, and that area we will go later. But first, let's step into the hippo house. We've, as I said, two separate areas which you can also combine if you want to. For the hippos, with their pools over here, we have some information on the walls, a lot of information about hippos, and we can also go down here if you want a little bit of underwater view for the hippos. They look small, but this is the space we have. This building is also listed, and we can't really expand it. So this is all the space they have, and from what I've seen in real life, most hippos in real life don't have much more space than that. So this is basically what we give the hippos, and what seem as suited for them. Of course, big is always better, but this is more than enough for them. Our little hippo house also really love with all the lushness we incorporated here, with all the plants and the fake faux walls basically. And then we have the water area, and we have another little viewing area over here where we can get a closer look at hippos if we want that. We will not go through that door because there's nothing there yet for you to see, so we will jump quickly back over to here to continue our tour. And now we will enter the central area of the zoo, the plaza area, as I always like to call it. If we follow now this path, as I said, we come to our central rotunda, and we follow this one clockwise now. But before we do that, we have one little exception to make, and that is this habitat over here, because we will not end on the side in a moment. But this habitat is for the binturong, the bear cat. Some of these words are correct. Yes, which border the sun bear habitat behind them basically. And this was an old red panda habitat. We have a new one in a different area of the zoo, and now this one is occupied by two bear cats with a lot of climbing frames and things they can get around on if they are not stuck on the ground, as some of the animals do in this game, because they refuse to climb for some reason and for some point. And you can view this habitat on 3 different sides. We walked past one on this side. There's a similar one on the other side. And of course, but the main viewing is through these old gates, basically, which will be the staple for all the habitats on this plaza. That you have these old zoo gates, which were old, which were the old habitat gate, basically, and this was the access point for them. And we now opened up the gates. We made another viewing area here with the glass, which gets you even closer to the animals. Of course, we have some hot wire to prevent them from climbing out. But this is basically the trademark of this area, that we have these gates, which give you a unique viewing opportunity. So now we can go clockwise, and in the end we will go into the central pavilion in the middle. Basically also the start of our series in the first episode, and I haven't even showed the speed build of this because this took weeks to build, basically. But of course, first up we have again our hippos, with this other viewing area over here, where we can get very close to the hippos, and we can also see their house in the background if the hippo isn't standing in front of us, as well as a little mud pool on this side. Nothing different on over here, basically. And next up is our habitat for the African wild dog, a big habitat which combines two habitats in one. There's another viewing area over there, where we have this dry riverbed area with these different hills and elevations, basically simulating a dry riverbed in Africa. The hippo habitat is simulating a wet riverbed with the mud banks, and this one is simulating a dry one, where we have our group of African painted dogs. I don't know what's the correct term for this at the moment. But we have our river dogs, our painted dogs, African wild dogs over here, and as you can see, they can also get up the elevations. And I placed some food items there, so they are encouraged to go up there. But we will also see them later from another unique viewing point. There they run around, as you can see, and most of the habitats are separated from the guests by these moats. So it's basically barrierless, except the glass one over here, and of course the hot wire / metal spikes on top, so the animals don't get too close. This is another main path that leads further into the zoo, which we'll see later at another point. And our first of the basically row of habitats over here is a combined habitat for the sable antelope as well as the plains zebra. Very dry habitat, as most habitats for ungulates are, because they eat all the ground plants. But here we feature two animals in that, two animals that share a common range in Africa: the sable antelope and the plains zebra. Zebras are a staple for zoos, so I had to include them, and it's similar to what the Rizu of Schönbrunn also has. And they can also jump, apparently, not the zebras, the sable antelopes. And we also have another viewing opportunity on this side, but we could also separate the habitat if we want to with fences, so we could have two separate habitats. And you also we'll see these houses in each of the following habitats, which are basically a staple for this area, these hoofstock houses. Where we also have an indoor area, which will show you later. Next up, we have our flamingo colony over here. Lots of water, lots of flamingos. I think 18 are in here. I think there are 18 African flamingos, greater flamingos, in this habitat. I thought about swapping them out for the American flamingo, but since this is more African-centered area of the zoo, I stayed with the greater flamingo, which fits better in here. And we have all these different pools, different elevations and things like that, for them to enjoy and walk around. And if there's breeding season, of course we would close these gates so that they can breed in peace and quiet. Next up, we have one of my favorite ungulates in the game, which is the Nihileshwe or Nihilichi, however you want to pronounce it. Which of course features also a bigger water area, as they are quite aquatic and also quite far away, like in real life, where you often see animals only in the background of the habitats. But here we have our Nihileshwes, which they're very similar, these habitats, because they feature similar design elements and things like that, only small variations here and there to not make them look too copy-paste. But our Nihileshwes on this side. And then in the middle of these last two habitats, we have the the common ostrich, the African greater ostrich. I know this is also a term, but it's a common ostrich. 2 females and a male. Very impressive big birds. I think we have. I think if we have every red tide in the game in the zoo, no, we only have 2. We have the reha and the ostrich. The reha will come later. But yeah, very cool to have them in here. They're very impressive, and I tried to emulate some high African grasses, some tall African grasses with these plants over here to give it a more distinct look, basically. Very cool. Very, very cool. And last one we have is the Dama gazelle. Yeah, a staple for zoo conservation, as they have been brought back from extinction basically through zoos. Otherwise they would have been extinct in the wild, and now there are programs to rewild them, to bring them back into their natural habitat. Hello, kind of you to go to come up here. Very nice of you. But yeah, the last one of these hoofstock row habitats, with 2 of them not being hoofstock, but you get what I mean. Very similar to the other ones, a little bit more open to simulate their more arid environment. And of course every habitat is separated by this line of trees to make a visual blockade, and to also give of course some shade and some greenery for the animals. These are our Dama gazelles. Next up would of course be again our giraffes, and this path we will take in a moment. But let's first look at another viewpoint of the giraffes here, where you can see that you can't really see the extension of the giraffe house, the modern extension, which is on purpose because this building is listed, and also the view of this building is listed. This is straight up also from the Reserve of Schönbrunn, where it's the same case. That's the historic view from the central rotunda is also listed as something they had to keep up. They had to preserve. So the new building in the background is built in such a way that it isn't really visible from this angle and doesn't disturb the historic view basically. So you only have the historic building. You can see through the doors and see the modern extension, but it's not visible in any way from the outside. And here we have our giraffe basically. But yeah, last thing on this part of the tour is to look at our central pavilion, our breakfast pavilion, our lunch pavilion, where you can sit outside in the sun, or on the upper terrace. You can sit there. There's also an access, I think, for people in wheelchairs on one side. Yes, there's a ramp here, which of course is the best we can do because the building is listed. We can't really change the layout of the stairs, but that is how we do it. But if the weather isn't that good, you can jump inside and you can sit inside, where you are greeted by our majesty, of this country, basically, a historic person, and then you can sit inside and enjoy the dome above you, which took me a very long time to do, with all the astrological signs of all the star signs lining the circle. And then you also have the names of them, Sagittarius, Scorpio, and so on, as well as names of people that helped me building this zoo, either because they supported me, they are part of my community, or I used a lot of blueprints from these people like Wyatt. We also have a little shout out to Dame Maggie Smith, who died during our construction of the zoo, as well as the Angry Archer, Bo before him, for OG people of this game who know who I mean with that. And yeah, then we have a lot of lists alongside my wonderful fiance and her other name on social media is also listed here. And a lot of people that are listed, and there can be more people here. I can add more people to this list if I want to, but these are some of the people that either help me directly or indirectly with building the zoo. So yeah, they are forever immortalized in this space, forever to be part of the experience, alongside some of the names you guys gave me, because of course we had this system going on that you could suggest a name for one of the animals in this zoo, and I would then name one of the animals after your suggestion. We had a lot of cool ideas, a lot of cool names, a lot of cool ideas coming in, suggestions coming in, and there are 3 more suggestions for this tour that I will do, 3 more names from people that I will have to do because I didn't do it in the last episodes. So there will be 3 more parts of your ideas in the zoo immortalized, and it's really cool that so many people like to do that and want to do that. So yeah, you're also part of the zoo forever. So yeah, this is our breakfast pavilion. FPS is going down a little bit because of the many pieces. Everything is custom in here. Everything is built by myself or using workshop, like these cans, bottles, and the coffee machine. The rest I think is made by myself. Yeah, everything is made by myself. So let's jump out. Whoop, go through the door. Not landing on roof so far, which is very good and nice for me this time. And we will continue down this path towards this big building in the background and see what adventures and new discoveries await us there. And we follow this path. Sometimes it's hard after cuts to know where you last started, because sometimes it's there between. But we follow this path to this big open area, not with many animals. This is more about room to breathe, room to roam around, these greenery parts. We have a nice little fountain in the middle, complementing our giraffes on this side, where you have also access to the backstage. A quick look into the backstage. Hello, giraffes. Nothing much here, just some clutter lying around, some tools to use for the workers. But if we follow the path along on this side, there's nothing here because this is the inside of the new giraffe house. And here you can get a little sneak peek into the inside, and that is where we were standing in the beginning when we toured the giraffe house. This was where we were, but we didn't continue. Then you have the backstages of some of the aviaries on the other side. This is for the chaos, and then for the other birds on this side. Very simple. Didn't spend too much energy and time on them because they're not that important. But some climbing areas, some perching spaces, some tools, for example, for the chaos. And then we come up to this space over here, which is the zoo office building, Verwaltung in Germany, in German. So this is where all the officers sit, the zoo director would sit, all the coordinators, and all these people that are there to manage the zoos, to make it run, basically, to to manage all the finances and things like that. Sorry for that. So this is what this building is. But if we continue on the other side, we have another row of backstages for birds, which we will look at in a second. I also will quickly show you the other side, which has another row of aviary backstages for the animals to be in if they're not outside, if there's bird flu, for example. And we can continue alongside here, this little path over here, behind our Dharma gazelles on this side. And we get to this big plaza, which some of you who follow the series would know, because we were here a couple episodes ago to finish up the aviaries, which are now fully finished, and they perfectly fit inside the space. With the diving shifaka. But we will look at that in a moment, because we have some more aviaries over here, this time with signs. So we have a kookaburra in this aviary. There they are. We have, what do we have in here? We have crested partridges, common hill minia. I probably butcher a couple of these names. And then here we have the American birds with the blue jay and the red cardinal sitting in this little aviary. And then let's finish up the birds before we look at the real animals again. We have the Livingston's Turaco and the Violet Turaco in this aviary. And we have the gray parrot in here. There they are, sitting a pair of them, as well as the sulfur-crested cockatoo in the last one. Before we go into the bird house, which is this building over here, we look at our two primate species in this area, our primate islands. And on this island, I'm jumped down the moat, we have the Shifaka sitting down there, as well as the red-ruffed lemur at some spade. Yeah, there they are, the red-ruffed lemur on the smaller island. This is our lemur island, which they can climb around in, but of course they also have an indoor area, which we look into later. But yeah, really wanted to include the Shifaka. I know this is probably not an ideal setup for Shifakas, as they are need very specific habitat requirements, things like that. But I really wanted to include them after we got them in the zookeeper's pack. I think, it was the zookeeper's pack. So I combined them here with the ruffed lemur. And on the other side we have our bigger habitat, and this one is, as you can probably see, for the Lar gibbon, with all the different ropes and trees and climbing pieces all over the place, creating a big habitat for them to swing around or walk around. They could brachiate. I know they can brachiate on these, but for some reason they don't do that, and they also sometimes do that. But yeah, this is our gibbon islands, our gibbon area, with also the island over here, a bigger island than the lemur one. As well, of course, as an indoor space over there. Really like how this turned out with all the different climbing spaces, all the ropes tangling in and out here and going all between these spaces, which is really cool. And yeah, creating this immersive space for our gibbons. Next up, we turn around and we don't go through there because this door is closed, but we go through the main gate. We first have, of course, a little sneak peek into it from this side. If you don't want to go inside because they are walk-through aviaries, you can also look through these windows, through the mesh, into them and see all the birds. And if you want to go, if you're brave and you want to go inside, you go through these doors. I'm not on the roof, perfect. And you enter the savanna aviary. The first one we have a tropical aviary and a savanna aviary, and this is the first one we go into, where we have a range of different birds. We have the African jacana, the Kikuyu white-eye, the white-headed buffalo weaver, the Taveta golden weaver, the bearded barbet, the superb starling, as well as the southern carmine bee-eater. For the choice of birds, I went with what the real zoo of Schönbrunn has in these areas. They have a lot more species, but I went for the ones we also have models of in the workshop, basically. So we have all these different fake birds in here, simulating the African savanna bird world. Basically, we also have some beavers, basically, or some birds building their burrows in here into the bee-eaters. I think bee-eaters do build these burrows into the rock. So we have all these different birds with all the skylights and all the light coming in, all the different plants simulating their environment. And if we go through, we also see tropics. Yep, there's the tropics. And because we first go into this middle area, which in the real zoo houses a sloth. I didn't include that because I didn't found it too appealing to have a sloth in here, so I went with just an empty room. But we have two viewing windows where we can also see the animals, like the Jakarta over here. If you don't want to, if you feel like, okay, I've seen enough birds, I don't want to go further, so we can also view them from in here. But we are brave, we go further, and we enter the tropical wing of the birdhouse with all these tropical birds, I think from mainly South America. So let's see, we have a sunbittern, a blue and yellow tanager, a golden collared tanager, a red-legged honey creeper, Indian cock of the rock, blue-backed mannequin, and Brazilian tanager. A lot of tanager species over here. And yeah, this is, as I said, the aviary for South American birds, basically simulating the tropical forest of the Amazon forest. And yes, it's similar to the other aviary with all the birds in here and simulating their environment, which is, I think, very cool. Next, we can exit here. We have a little more education about South America if you enter from this side. And we exit on this side next to the lemurs again, to the gibbons again, who are still getting boxed up but because they are naughty. And we have our two big aviaries over here. And if you see me build them, you know how much of a chore it was, especially this one with all the round parts and the cup, the dome on top and everything like that. It was really a challenge to build them, but I'm so happy how they turned out. The first one we have here is for the Egyptian vulture. We also participate in a breeding program for them to reintroduce them into the wild. So this is our breeding pair for Egyptian vultures in the smaller aviary, which also features this ruin structures in the back, these old castle structures in the back, or at least that's what they are to simulate. And they also apparently recently got something to eat because there's still a blood on the stump over there. And then we can also enter this walk-through aviary for the bearded vulture as well as a northern bald ibis, or Waldrapp as it's also called. A big aviary for these birds. We have a lot of them. a whole flock, as well as the bearded vultures up there, and I think another one is somewhere there. Really cool. As I said, it's a walkthrough, so if you're not too keen on getting too close to birds, you can also see them from the outside through the mesh. But it's a really cool atmosphere being in here. Yeah, seeing these birds up close and flying over your head and getting real up close to them. Yeah, there's another bearded vulture over there. So yeah, again, the rune structure in the background, which is something very common if you build for, or if Zeus built for Northern Bald Ibis, that they have these old castle structures in the background. Also very common for owls, now that I think of it. But yeah, really, really cool. Our big aviary over this side. And if we exit here, we come to a dead end because there's some work stuff to do. We will not look at this habitat for now, but we have two more things to do here in this area before we go down this path. The first one is this habitat, this small little hidden habitat in the corner for the Kirk's Dik-Dik. Which borders, I think, the ostriches on this side, as well as not the addax, the Dama gazelle on the other side. Where they are? I don't see them. There's one. They are so tiny. Yeah, here we have a pair of Kirk's Dik-Dik. Let's see if I can get the shadow a little bit better, so that this exactly in there's the backstage area. This was formerly a habitat for cassowaries, which sadly passed away, and so we put in the Kirk's Dik-Dik. I don't think they mind the amount of space in here. Of course, it's hard to spot them, but since they are very shy animals, I think that also very much suits them that they have this little hidden alcove in here. One of them using the scratching power over there, which is very, very cute. But yeah, before we move on, we jump first into this little backstage I want to show you. I also want to show you some backstage space if there are some. So we here have a little backstage and access points for the Dama gazelle as well as the ostrich. We can also access their indoor areas, which I quickly do through this gate. So this is very similar to a lot of the other ones in this row, that they have these types of indoor areas with my own fence system that I made after inspired or recreating the fence system of Zoo of Leipzig. So you can find them in the workshop, these fences. They said they are recreation of Zoo of Leipzig's fence system and fence types that they use in their zoo. So they are very similar to, or this is very similar to all the other buildings in this row. You can also, of course, as a guest, you can view them from here if you want to do that. And the last stop in this part is our indoor areas for, first up, the lemurs, where you can view the lemurs if they are inside. You can view them from here, for example, in the winter when they're not outside. Yeah, I hear you, and I see you jumping, and I see you jumping in the water. Hello, thank you very much for demonstrating. Welcome in. But yeah, you can view from here, or you go in this direction and see them from here, basically from this little secluded path. And then on the other side, who would have thought is the backstage area for the gibbons, which are probably all outside and don't want to come inside. So they're all on this side outside. But yeah, this is their indoor area where we would hold them in winter times, or if some animal is sick or something like that, or in the nighttime, they would be held in here to prevent them from escaping. And one little thing that you probably don't see from the path, but I still want to show you a little sneak peek going through the water, is this little separation area over here, or quarantine area that we would use. For example, if we have a sick individual that needs to separate it, then we have this little quarantine area outside here where we could keep these animals if needed. So this is basically the bird area of the zoo, if you want to call it like the bird and primate area of the zoo. If you want to name them, if you want to name these areas, if you have to. So we now continue down this path and we enter our Himalayan mountain area. I think we call that the Himalayan mountain area. The Himalayan mountain area in that shape or form does not exist in the Zoo of Schönbrunn. In that zoo, this is a big elephant habitat, but I'm not a big fan of elephants, or I'm not a big fan of elephants in zoos, as I think they're sometimes the habitat also in Schönbrunn isn't that big, so I know they're building a new one now, a bigger one, but it isn't that big, the old one, this one, so I decided to swap that out for a mountain area, which features animals from the Himalayas, as well, I think, from other Asian areas. And first up we have this little resting area over here with a statue of the Tarkin, as well as a look into the backstage area, as well as separation cage for the palace cat. So if they are inside, you can see them here, and if we are separating the breeding pair at the moment, one of the female or the male would be in this area over here, most likely the male, as usually we give the female the bigger space if they have kittens, for example, so they would be found in here. But we want to see the real habitat for them, and that is if we follow this path, next to this little playground. This is what I wanted to say. Next to the little playground, we get to the habitat for the palace cats, and as in real life, they're hard to spot, hard to see. I don't know if I can find them. I have to see where they are, if they are anywhere. There's one. I don't know where the other ones are. The other one is laying up there, so we will see it in a moment. This is a little habitat for the palace cat. Of course secured, so they can't climb out. Probably a little bigger than what you usually would see in zoos, with lots of elevation, lots of climbing space, lots of rocks, like they like to have in real life. And yeah, there's the other one lying up there. So we can maybe get a nice little look on them if we go up this little area over here. And we, are unlocked. We can see them right up, laying up the glass over here, which is very cool that they do that. I placed, of course, the sleeping area, sleeping bed deliberately on this space, so they would sleep here. But it's really cool that they actually do that. We can spot them here sleeping, and there's also another little viewing area up here where you get a little bit look of on the backside. There they are. There's one actually awake, where you can get a little bit of a sneak peek on the other side of the rock, which hides most of the back area of this habitat, so that they have a little bit more privacy, basically. Very cool that that one was sleeping up the glass. We of course have some prayer flags here to give a little bit of theming for the Himalayan area through Tibet, and we have another viewing window over here for the Markhor, which is not from the Himalayas, as well as the Tarkin, which is from the Himalayas. But I wanted to combine them because they very cool species, and we don't really have that many caprine species that would fit that area. We have the ibex, but we have the European ibex, so these two Asian caprine species are what fitted the best. And she's using the goat mountain, which is very nice. Is she? I think, this female is using it. Let's see watch the animation. I still love the animation of this goat mountain. Sadly, the Tarkin can't use them, but it's okay. And there you go. Assert your dominance, my female friend. So let's go down again, which also brings us up to the backstages, or the lower behind other parts of the habitats for the Leshwe, as well as the flamingos on this side, as well as our first big viewing area for the Himalayan goat species, so to say, where we can see them all their glory with the little water area down here. They can use all parts of the habitat, or at least all important parts, so they can go down this up this mountain, as well as can cross this bridge, this rock bridge over here, which is very cool. The Tarkin also can do that, which is very nice that they are easy and good climbers. Hello, my friends. You're all down here. You're not up there, which is very sad. Maybe I can force you to go up there if I can find a spot. Let's see. I have to go up here myself. Yeah. So, this is how it would look like in real life, climbing all the rock cliffs in the habitat, and going up all the spaces where they shouldn't be, and where they should be, basically. I don't know where the male Marco is, but he's also somewhere hanging around here. But as you can see, he can get up there, he can grab his toy and be happy. And we have another viewing opportunity for them on this side, where we also have this rock arch separating two areas. There's another part of the habitat over there, and we can get a close look down here. Autosave, there is, where we also have a bedding and sleeping area for them, a little bit in the shadows, as well as another look at the river running alongside this habitat, giving them some water, and as well as the backstage area for the sable antelope, as well as the zebras. So if they are inside here, you could also view them. Last viewing area for these animals is over here, which is a little more separated area, which you could potentially also separate entirely with some fences if we would want to do that, where we have another, yeah, this is I think one of the enrichment trees which I fitted out with some tires to make it more believable that they would rub against, and I think it's still usable. But here we have another goat mountain, another food spot, so they would come here if they want to feed and have a happy time. This is our, yeah, Takin and Markor exhibit. There they go. There's one going around there. And the last habitat of our Himalayan area is, of course, everyone's favorite animal, most loved animal, at least mine and my girlfriend's, my fiance's, and I think also just Goran's, is the red panda. You can't make an Himalayan area or Asian highlands area without them, so they have this little spot over here, and this also shows that this most likely was maybe an elephant area in the past, because this is a dry mode or a dried out mode, which so in the past was a watering pool, maybe for elephants, maybe for another ungulate or other animal that uses pools, maybe for rhinos. They yeah, dried it up, filled it up with substrate, and now it serves as more walking area and walking space for the red pandas, as well as all the climbing franks all over the place, for them to enjoy, which is very, very, very nice. And I really love it. I like my red pandas, so it was a no-brainer to include them in here. There's one. Getting really up close to the guests in the tree here. And into the tree, apparently. Okay. And yeah, last stop before we continue is our big fountain, our big main fountain of this area, of this plaza, which stands in the place of the real-life primate house, monkey house that Schönbrunn has, which I planned to onto building. I planned to build that, but yeah, I figured out that even that the animals with the space that the building has for the animals in game couldn't move. They couldn't yeah, even we could bring them in, but they couldn't move from the spots they were standing in. So I decided against it because it wasn't really feasible with moving animals. And I decided to build this big fountain with all these different animal statues and an obelisk in the middle with a golden eagle on top, in place of that. Next to our little jumbo buffet food spot over here, where you can grab a drink or snack if you want to sit down, enjoy while you eat. If you don't want to spend more money on the central pavilion cafe over there, you can grab a hot dog or some other German food, yeah, Germanic food, basically. You can grab it here. I think this one sells hot dogs, so for example, yeah. One last thing before we continue is a little tip if you want to play this game by yourself, or if you want to play the zoo by yourself, is that when you put in, there's a male, that's a male Markor. If you put in the Tarkins into this exhibit, they will be stuck in the backstage area over there. I quickly show that. I promise I tell you if you need to be aware of things. By the way, the backstage, nothing special here, just a row of fences. But yeah, if you bring them in, this is the point where they get dropped in. The keeper gate is hidden underground, but they will be stuck in here. They can't go through this gate, through this opening. The Markor can, the Tarkin can't. So if you place the Tarkin in this habitat, you have to manually transport them over to the main habitat if you want them to be able to go in there. Otherwise they will be stuck in this area. So you will need to transport them over here. That is one thing you have to keep in mind when exploring the zoo for yourself. Okay, with that out of the way, let's continue to our newest part of the zoo, our newest area of the zoo. The last two habitats we actually built in the Speed Build series. You know them, of course, our coastal area of Edelwald. So let's continue with that and see what awaits us there. And I don't want to spend too much time in this area because we just recently covered both of them as they were on our last 2 episodes. But before we look at both the habitats that we find here, we take a quick turn around and look at this zoo shop next to the toilet. This is the toilet building over here. Nothing in there apart from the toilet. But we have another little zoo shop over here for more merchandise, for more stuff you can buy if you want to do that. Some t-shirts, some caps, some puzzles or jigsaws, I think they're called in Britannia. So another little zoo shop on this side, nothing too major. And also we have this building over here, which was a restaurant back in the day, but now it's closed. But they can't take it down because it's also listed. So they just closed it off, and now it sits here abandoned. And maybe in the future there will be another use for it. But let's continue with our with the coastal area. Let's start with the coastal area. And first up, we have our habitat for the African penguin. As you can see them here diving in the water and out of the water with this very cool terraced look, a hilly look, emulating their habitat in the wild where they live alongside the coast of southern Africa, which on the rocky beaches basically. So they often have these cliff sides next to the water, and yeah, we also have a little waterfall going on, as well as a lot of education on the penguins surrounding them. And this is deliberately not higher, this water area, and you only have a little bit of insight into the water because of the terrain that is set around them. So this is the maximum height we can achieve without it making it look completely ridiculous. And you notice some construction material in the background. We will talk about that when we come to it. But before we do that, we have this little area over here. And for people who follow my videos, you know that this was an empty spot next to the penguins where I asked you guys, the viewers, what I could include here. And we had a lot of very, very, very cool ideas. Among them was a little rock garden or a little garden area. And I followed it up with, in my mind, I decided to make this little coastal garden area with lots of education about maybe the coastal environment, the animals there, the plants there. We have some of these little adorable seagulls that I try to include because they're so cute. And you have a lot of native plants that you would find on the coast, and a lot of information about that, about the environment, about the animals, about the plants there. So a lot of education about these biomes basically, which I think fits nice into this area and gives it all this coastal beachy vibe. Next up, we come up here next to this little utility shed over there with more information, but it's basically just a storage area, and we can climb up on top of here to get an overhead view of the penguins. And thank you so much for being here to show you that they can get up all the way up here. Sorry for my English. And here's also where we find their breeding burrows. Something they would do in the wild, where they would duck into the walls of the water area and build their burrows in there if they don't find a sheltered area. And we have another little pool over here that they can use as well. We get an overview over the water area, and we can see them dive down there. And we can see our other animals. Thank you for doing that. They normally don't go over this on this rock, but she decided to do that. So yeah, we can see our California sea lions from here, as well as more of the construction area, which I will talk later in the tour about. So let's go down there and go to our California sea lions, our last addition to the zoo. And let's follow the path alongside here, go up here this little hill where we get another look at the penguins standing in the water. And now they're swimming okay, as well as a little viewing point onto the land area, so we can also see them if they are not in the water. If they're on land, we can also see them here basically. And then of course the path is blocked off because there's construction happening, and we have this first little viewing area for our California sea lions. Hello guys. Hello. Awaiting us, and they can get up really close. They can get up here, walk here, which is very cool. But usually, of course, they stay in the water and enjoy diving down there. But that's not all. We can take two paths now. We can get up here, go up here, or we can go down there. I would say we go down here because it's more interesting to get to the underwater viewing area of the sea lions to see them diving. I see if I can change the sun a little bit. That was good. So we can see them better. We of course also have these banners over top, which give a little bit of shade for the sea lions as well, for the guests. But yeah, here we can see them and observe them diving in the water, and we can see them disappearing there. I wonder where this leads. We will check that out in a moment. But yeah, very cool to see them all using all that, and it was very a struggle. If you watch these people, you know what a struggle it was to get this working, but I'm more than happy that it does. But we can also jump up here and go up here to these tribunes, to these standing places and tribune spaces. If there's a show happening, we have sea lion shows here, but they are educational purpose only, so we do training with the seals, we do medical checkups, and while we do that, we explain to the visitors a bit about seals, a bit about what the training involves and things like that. If you have seen a good sea lion show, a sea lion showcase, you know how these things are structured, so I don't need to tell you about that. So yeah, we have different ways to get up here with the stairs. They're also back then, but we also have a ramp system on this side for people who are not that good, who are in a wheelchair or not that good with walking. They can use the ramp system to get up here to see the sea lions, or we can jump down here again and get to another viewing point on this side on eye level with the seals. I mean underwater, but you get what I mean. And we have another tribune over here, which serves also as the roof of a backstage building, which we will look at later in the tour. But you also can stand here if everything is full there. You can still stand here and watch the show. But this is not all. This habitat is big for the sea lions, so we have 2 more spots to check out for them. First up is this little shack where you can come inside. You can read a lot of information. And if you're lucky, and if they are willing to do that, thank you very much. You can see them dive through here, which is very cool that it works in the game. Yeah, you can see them dive through here. You can see them dive under your feet, which is very cool. Yeah, diving from the big space to the smaller space. And you also, as I said, have a lot of information about sea lions, about their life cycle, about their threats and things like that. So that is also something you can do. And then you have this side over here, which is a more shallow area of the habitat, which we could close off. For example, here we have the separation barrier. If we have maybe a mother with their pups or with their pup, we can close that off so that they are a bit more secluded and a bit more safe, and the pup can learn to swim first in the shallow water before going to the deep water. This is what this area is meant for. And yeah, we will not continue down this path and this South American habitat. We will go a little bit back because we do a different way first. And I forgot to do something. Now that I look at my second screen, we will have a little bit of a sidetrack over here. This tour is totally improvised and not staged at all. We have one of the 3 naming suggestions that we have. The last 3 naming suggestions is coming from Lisa Belfast 89, who asked if we could name one of the penguins Pingu, and we have here our male, so one of our males, so we is now named Pingu, which is a very classic name, very fitting for penguins. So thank you very much for suggesting that. And now we can continue. I'm very sorry for that, for the little sidetrack, and we will go into this area for a short moment to look at the habitat before we continue. And this is the habitat for the ocelot, one of our big cats in the zoo. Thank you very much, lying right in front of the window. Thank you very much for doing that. And the other one is climbing up there, or I don't know what he's doing, but he's trying to climb. Here we have our ocelots in their habitat, in the small habitat, enjoying their climbing areas, their climbing space with the waterfall and this over water track basically. And yeah, we have another viewing opportunity for them over here through this little log, which was inspired by a viewing area from Zoo Berlin for one of their cat species. So as a kid, you can climb into this log and you can potentially get up really close. I can't. I'm adult. I'm not allowed in here. You can get up really close to the cat if they are here in front of here, which is super cool. but if you are lucky, they are also lying on top of here on this little balcony. They can also lie up top there. So a lot of opportunities to interact with the ocelot. And continue from there, we will not continue there, that we will do later. We do another backtrack, and we enter our carnivore house, I think is the right translation. The Raubtierhaus in German, the carnivore house, where we first have a look at the backstage cage of the wild dogs. If we have to separate them, there's another space, open space here. And we can also go inside. In the still very empty buildings, the story behind this is that there are no images, as I have found, of the inside of this building from the real zoo of Schönbrunn. Online, I couldn't find anything, and when I was in the zoo, this building was closed. Apparently, it is continues to be closed for some reason. So there are no images, no video record of the inside of this building. So I didn't really had a lot of references how this would look from the inside. So I had to get a little bit blind and piece things together. So yeah, it is still a little bit empty. Maybe I will continue adding stuff if I find inspiration for it. But yeah, this is how it looks right now. We have some vending machines over here if you want to buy something. And then we have the indoor areas for, first of all, the ocelot. So their indoor area. Here they would be, if we separate them, or if they have to be indoors, they would be inside here, which is very nice. And then we also have another view window for one of the animals we will see later, our jaguars. Here's our female jaguar on this side, climbing over here. And we also have a little statue over here of a jaguar, which is of course fitting. And then we have the indoor area for the jaguars, a little bit bigger for their space. Lots of elevation, lots of climbing space as these cats need. And we can also see their outside area over there, which we will check out later, or better said, in a moment. But before we do that, we go not through this exit, we go through this one, where we land on the roof for the first time. It only took us, I think, an hour or so. We are on the roof. But yeah, here we are in one of the old carnivore cages. This, as well as the one for the wild dog, was previously an old carnivore cage. The whole habitat in front of them didn't existed. And now it's converted to a visitor space where you can get up really close to the wild dogs, which is their habitat. This is their habitat in front of here. So you can get really up close to them and observe them. They can get really up close to you, which is very cool. So this is the visitor area for the wild dogs inside this old carnivore cage with all the steel and all the bars and everything like that. Was also a nightmare to build, but it looks really cool with all the foliage growing inside of it, and I'm really happy it worked out. As you can see the wild dogs, and you can also then leave through this side, where you have another viewing window into the jaguar exhibit over here, as well as another cage, an old zoo cage, this time for an orangutan, how it would look, how they would kept the orangutans back then, and this tiny cage over here. And we are back on the street next to the hippos. There are hippos. We basically did a full circle around the wild dog habitat and are back with the hippos. Next to this other cage over here, which was for lions, and this one you can actually go inside, and this is opened, so you can get a feel. We ignore the trees over here. You can get a feel for how tiny it was, and see if you would feel comfortable yourself in this space, you can do that. As well as continue this narrow path down here. That is an exit of the hippo house, and here we are in front of our lion exhibit. Without lions, they are probably somewhere in the background. Yeah, there's one sleeping. They're always sleeping, as lions do. They're always sleeping. This is one of the viewing areas for the lions, which is very cool. Very big viewing window. And if you want to eat something, you also have the chance to do that with this little cafe. This was behind the backstage area that I showed you earlier. We have this little cafe, this African themed cafe over here, where you can grab a drink or a coffee or something like that. You can sit down and you can enjoy the view of the lions. If they are closer here, you can enjoy the view of that over here. which is very cool. But this is not the only viewing opportunity. Here, by the way, the backstage of the lions, there's nothing in there. And our hippos, again, hello hippos, with another viewing opportunity up here, with the underwater viewing. I forgot about that, yeah. This has been, have been a while since I built it, but there is a little underwater viewing area over here for the hippos, where you can see them underwater if they are there. Of course, with a little bit of a splash zone, and since, yeah, they're a little bit dangerous, it is a little bit further away, basically. Are you demonstrating that you can go underwater? It would be perfect. Thank you very much, my little hippo. Thank you very much for doing that. Yeah, they can go underwater here and you could see them. And by the way, yeah, these are little closed shops that I sprinkled throughout the zoo. They are closed at the moment, but there would be also be selling stuff. We can continue this alley towards this another entrance exit gate and get another look at our jaguar exhibit on this side with these opened up predator cages. They would have been closed back in the day. This would have been a full wall, and only this would have been the predator cage. They would only have different predators in these cages, so we opened them up, made them available for the jaguars on the other side, so they have more, even more space. You can see here there would be the entrance accesses for the keepers and for the animals to get them inside. For them live a miserable life inside these cages. But on the other side, we have our lions demonstrating that they can get up here. Thank you very much for that, my lady. They can get up this rock over here. There's also the male over there and the other female. So we have this area over here for the lions. It's a small habitat, but it's suitable enough for the amount of lions we have. Fitted out, renovated in the last years to more resemble their African environment, basically. But yeah, this is our big cat space area. We will take another look at the jaguars in a moment, and then we enter our South American area. Okay, a little change of plan since between the last part of the tour that we just did and this one. There have been a couple of days of me not recording due to real life. So we will look at the jaguars at the end of our South American route, which we will now start because it makes more sense from the layout. So we will see these guys at the end, but we first start on the left side with our white-faced Sakis. Or rather, we start with their indoor area over here, which is of course used in the winter times when they're not outside, or when anything else is happening that we need to separate them. Then they would have been in here. Otherwise, we have some information over here, and then we have their main outside enclosure on this little island, inspired by the monkey islands of the Zoo of Leipzig, which I think are no longer in use because the monkeys on that island, which also have been white-faced Sakis, among others, moved to Gondwana land. But these basically have been a setup for these islands, that you have this little moat, and then you have the island and some viewing areas over there and a lot of climbing frames. It's definitely not my best habitat that I have ever built for them, or that I've built, but it definitely gets the job done. It's simple, and that is what all it's meant to be, basically. And the whole area we are now going to enter is all not in the real zoo of Schönbrunn. Who is making these sounds? I have no idea who is making the cleaning sounds the whole time and not stopping. Somewhere isn't good at cleaning. Anyway, the whole area of this part in the real zoo of Schönbrunn is actually, in the real world, is a petting zoo area, a kids and petting zoo area, and I changed it into an American area, North American, South American area, because back then when I was building this area, that was when the America's pack released. So every habitat that you will now see until I say it again will be of my own ideas, of my own design. So that means, if there are a little of inconsistencies towards the general design of the rest of the zoo, that is why. But let's enter our Mexican plaza, North-South American plaza, first up with our little habitat for striped skunks. I think there's another one in here. I think he's back there. I think it could be him. Yeah, that's him. We have one albino in here, which is back there. But this is a little little yard, basically what it is supposed to be, with the Mexican styled home. Then we have the little yard over here with some tools, a little sun share over there, and the sombrero is for the striped skunk. Just a little entrance area animal basically to this whole area. And yeah, if we follow the path, we will look at our train in a moment. We want to start from the other side of the train, past this little playground over here, and if you follow that path more along, you also get to a little food court, but we will see that later in a moment. First, let's board up the train, or let's say the train wagons that I made. And yeah, this was really a cool thing, inspired by one zoo in the Netherlands, I think. Just Goran, if you watch this video, you can probably tell me what zoo it really was, that also has this derailed train style setup in their zoo for South American animals, I think. So I really like the idea of having this train stay over here, and if we enter it, we can see our next habitat, our next two habitats actually. If the sun isn't glaring into the screen, let's see if I can make that look a little better. Yeah, here we have our habitat for the coyote. I think I saw one in the background over there. There is one. And we can of course go along in the train wagon to see them there. Yeah, this idea of the old mining shaft basically was these having been an old mining shaft. We also have a mine over here which acts as the access to the backstage for the coyotes. And the old railways basically, and no, it have been taken over by nature, by the coyotes. It has been abandoned. It's like a ghost town, and these animals are now in here. And if you look in the background, we can't see it sadly at the moment, but this is another habitat. You can see the enrichment item over there. This is another habitat for the Bighorn Sheep, which we will most likely see in a moment. So let's follow the train. Let's follow along the train tracks until we reach its end for the coyotes, and then we can board on off board again. We also have a little toilet building over here, very simple toilet building, nothing much to talk about. And then we can follow the tracks around here. We have some more viewpoints alongside where the train tracks are laid down here. We have more viewing opportunities for the two coyotes, for the breeding pair. And then we get to the, as I said, Bighorn Sheep alongside this little insect garden on this side. We come to the Bighorn Sheep habitat, which I really like. I love Bighorn Sheep. They are among my favorite animals, among other goat and sheep species. So it was really cool that we got them in the DLC, and I was really happy to be able to build for them. And yeah, as I said, they can be seen from the coyotes if they are on the rock, for example, or if they're up here. You can see them from the coyote exhibit, and it's really cool that you have this layered viewing experience. And this is just basically also another mining mountain. Basically, we have these different mine shaft over here that they can access. And now one is climbing on top of it. Let's see if I can quickly go to the train to show you what I mean. There you can see you can see the coyotes in the foreground. You can see the Bighorn Sheep in the background. That's what I wanted to meant. We have this panorama view over there. Really, really cool. Really like how everything turned out, everything fit together. But if we follow the path, we have another little statue over here for the coyotes, just to fill up the space basically with some information. We have this path that goes alongside here, which can still be viewed by the visitors with another habitat in our back. But we focus on the sheep, which can get all around here if they want to. And then we enter the backstage area here with a gate. So guess no, they can't enter here. Here we have all the backstages for the different animals, for the Bighorn Sheep, these other two animals that will come up later. So let's track back and see what is behind this fence over here. Let's see what we can spot there. So turning around this corner away from the Bighorn Sheep, we come to, we are here now back at the plaza. There's our food court, but we now get to the Peccary exhibit. Our little group of a lot of Peccaries and baby Peccaries Really loved how this turned out. This is again exhibit from Schönbrunn, so we are now back into Schönbrunn territory. They just don't have the mountain for the Bighorn Sheep in the background, which you can also see here. So if the Bighorn Sheep is up there, you can also see them there. I really love how it turned out. It captures the desert feeling, this desert dried up feeling, which very well. I really like how I managed to do that. And on this side, we have another viewing area with some water, and then the backstage building over there for them, of course, to be in the nighttime. And I really love Peccaries. They're very cool. They're my favorite non-pig pig. So if you know what I mean. But yeah, let's turn back because we look at all these things later. So we go back a little bit because we have yet one big habitat to look at, and that is our South American Pantanal exhibit with all the classic species. And again, a look at the food court from this side. Of course, you can buy snacks and drinks as usual, and then you can sit down and enjoy the time. And while you do that, you might want to look into our Pantanal exhibit, which features 3 different species. We have the giant anteater, the greater rhea, as well as the capybara swimming there in its pond. And yeah, I really like how lush it feels, and still it's forested, it feels secluded. You have all these different species interacting with each other. I know rheas and capybaras and anteaters not always share the same environment or area in South America. I know even you can hear you crying, but it is something that is very common in these setups, zoo setups, and I basically followed what the zoo of Schönbrunn did, and it's a similar thing. They also had, I think, guanacos in there, or vicuñas. We sadly don't have them in game. I didn't want to include alpacas, so I decided to go for these 3, and a swimming rhea, funny enough. But yeah, we also have a little bit of underwater viewing over here, which is of course for the capybaras. If they dive or something like that, you can observe that over here, which is very cool. And then we can follow along the path along this habitat. Now we are now on the other side of the American area. This is our skunk habitat. We every now and then get a little glimpse of the environment over here. You can see everything, and then we end up where we started basically. And now we can look at the jaguars. But before, we have this little lookout point over here, which the capybaras, if I don't sink into the ground, can use for a little bathing time, a little shower time if they want to. And you also get a nice long view into the whole area with our flock of rheas, the anteater over there, and the capybaras. Really cool. We will see it later from the other side. But yeah, let's first look at our jaguars over here, our jaguar habitat, where I see one swimming in the water, our black male, our mellastic male. We have this setup over here. With 2 jaguars, and we have a separate cage on the other side, which we'll look at in a moment. But I really like it. Feels basic, but it still feels lush, and that's something I wanted to accomplish with the whole South American area. That you have this more European feeling with all the plants and things like that, but it still feels jungly to a degree. We also have a lot of climbing frames, and then in the background we have the indoor areas, which we looked at earlier. So they could also look outside and see each other if they want to. But yeah, here's our black male swimming in the pond, and I really like all the ivy. Giving a little of a jungle view. If you look through the ivy, if you look, for example, through that here with your camera, you would have a little of a jungly, tropical view on your hand, which is, I think, very nice. So yeah, let's move on into that direction. To see the other side of the South American enclosure, and then move into the later parts of the zoo. And while we are now doing a little of a detour past some exhibits we have already seen, apart from the second enclosure for the jaguars, and this side separation enclosure over here, which is of course a little bit smaller, but still has a lot of climbing frames, we can talk about how building the zoo for me has been. Why I point out also different views, and my game is paused, for example, for one reason. Now we are going back again. But yeah, it has been a blast building the zoo, and it really was also challenging for me to build everything. There have been a lot of, as you probably have seen in a couple part times now, a lot of round buildings, a lot of circular things and unusual shapes. And as if you follow my channel, you probably know that I have sometimes a hard time visualizing non-regular shapes in my head and building everything. Hello, by the seals again. And yeah, this zoo really challenged me and pushed me to my limits in some aspects, to try out different things, to come up with solutions for all the unusual buildings that have been in the zoo. We will see in some others later on, but yeah, it was really a cool thing. Another wonderful view of our South American exhibit over here. And yeah, that also brings me why we have the construction site on the side. There's a reason why I want to take this tour, and that is that in the real zoo of Schönbrunn, of course, there is also stuff here. Here you have the South America, the tropical house. You have the polar bear exhibit and also other cold climate exhibit. You have spectacle bears and koalas. You have some other rock climbing animals, like I think there are some I think what are they called in baboons. I think we have baboons. That was the word I was searching for. And while I would have loved to include all of them into the zoo, I also had to look at the FPS and performance in general of this file. And sadly, I already pushed the limits of what is doable for this for a zoo of this size and complexity for me and my PC. So I decided against them. I decided against these buildings, and yeah, since I didn't want to have an empty space over here, and I kind of had to make a path here due to the setup of South America area, I decided to make a construction area here that basically says, okay, the zoo is building something new. I mean, we are our own zoo. We are not a copy of 100% copy of Schönbrunn. We are Edelwald, so maybe they're doing a big construction site over here, building a totally new zone for the zoo, and that's why we have this crane over here. We have all the construction materials lying around, and so this area doesn't feel empty while it is technically empty. But there's still something here to look at and to fill out the space, and that is why we have the construction site. But we are now close to the big main house of the South America area. We have another little viewing area over here, as well as an access for the keepers on this side. And if we go around the corner, we enter another bigger courtyard with our adjacent Australia area, Tasmania and Australia area over here, as well as the access to the South American house. But in front of that, we have our Prairie Dog exhibit, where the Prairie Dogs are hiding. I don't know where they are at the moment. There's one. The others are either inside there or inside their burrows. One has decided to come out for us. There he is. And yeah, if you place them, don't worry, this habitat is very much small and too small for the amount of prairie dogs in here. I think we have 6 in here. They will complain. Just ignore them. Just let them in. Just put them in here. They will move around and have a good time, but they probably will not be able to use some of the stuff that's in here due to the setup. We also have included these 2 viewing domes. Basically, I tried to use the in-game viewing domes, but with the setup of the path and the building and everything, it didn't really work out. So I decided to make my own ones that are a bit smaller than the in-game ones. And yeah, they're not functional or anything, but they still give the idea away how this would work. But yeah, we have our Prairie Dogs. Are you using it, or are you refused to? Because you told me that it wouldn't be usable. It's usable. Okay, you're going inside. You see your little face probably pop up here in a moment. Yeah, you are. Or clipping a bit through the side. But yeah, let's enter our South American house to see if some of the Prairie Dogs are inside the tunnel system. And this house features the backstage areas, indoor areas of the giant anteater and the capybaras. We already saw the Reha backstage and we already were standing on it. It was the building way there in the back. This is where also the tribune was for the sea lions, the second one. This is the building for the Rheas, and this indoor area is for anteaters, capybaras, with this side being for the anteaters, and then we have another side for capybaras on the other side, and then this middle part where we can put in animals if we need to, if we need to separate them or anything like that, or if we have other animals that need to be acclimated, we still have this spare space in the middle for them. And on the other side, we have our viewing or our little indoor viewing into the burrow of the prairie dogs, as good as I could do it with it making it traversable for the animals. So it is a little bit wider and a little bit more open than I would like to, but they still can use everything, and that is what it counts, as well as the access tunnels over here for the viewing pods, so for the viewing domes. You could have to imagine that you could climb in here and then you would pop out on that side, or I pop out on the roof. So let's now the autosave. Let's jump in back in again to also look at the last backstage over here. This one being for the capybaras, and this is basically our South American area done on this time. So we now move forward to the Australian area, as well as some miscellaneous habitats on this side, and then we come to the grand finale of the zoo. And I'm still thinking what the best way of walking through here will be, but I guess I will just go with the flow and what I think is best, and that will be that we start with the zoo lab, or the zoo information center, whatever you want to call it. This whole Australian Tasmanian area that we will look at in a moment is inspired by the Zoo of Copenhagen, and actually recreation of that from the Zoo of Copenhagen with some smaller changes here and there to make it fit into the space. And they also have this zoo lab, which I said it wasn't inside, it was mainly for kids, so we didn't felt too good being inside there. It was a bit weird as only two adults going in there. But on this side, we have a little information center about Australia, about Australian art. We have a map of Australia with all the species, Australian and Tasmanian and New Zealand animals that we have in the zoo and where they are coming from in that area. And we can also look outside to look at one of our species in this area, which is the red kangaroo, which we will also get a very much closer look at in a moment. But we can also go to the other side where we have this little classroom, information room, education room, basically, where you could have school classes or groups, and then you could teach them something. You could bring out animals to show them. You can show them videos. For example, at the moment there's a Planet Zoo trailer running in the background. But you can here have some education going on for your classes and talk about them, about zoos and animals and all that important stuff. So let's move outside and let's move to the right side to enter the walkthrough exhibit. Yes, we have a red kangaroo walkthrough exhibit, which I think is a really cool idea. I don't know how safe it is, but it should work in general. Hello. As long as we don't anger the big boy, wherever he is at the moment. But we also have a second enclosure over here, which is an enclosure for the wombat. There's one, I don't know where the other is, probably inside. And the funny thing about here is that the red kangaroos, there's a male, can enter the wombat enclosure, but the wombat can't get out. This is one enclosure for two species. You can see here, they can enter. The wombats can't get out here. So if you are placing the animals inside here, a little tip for if you want to explore the zoo for yourself, you have to manually move the wombats from the entry points, which is around here, to this part of the enclosure. Otherwise they will just be in the open part over here. But they are meant to be in this sunken down part of the exhibit. So if you want to have the true experience how I intended it, you have to move them manually in here. They can't get out. They will complain about the space, of course, but it is a fairly big enclosure for two wombats in real life, so it should be fine. Look at the little guy, isn't he good? Little goofball, ball of fur. But yeah, as said, the wombats can't get out. The kangaroos can get in and out if they want to, which is a very cool concept that I really liked in the real zoo as well. But yeah, let's move along. Let's follow the path through this little foresty bit over here, and then we will also see we will see a little bit of the other exhibit on the other side, and we also see one of the residents of that exhibit over there. But we exit this this exhibit through, not here, this is the indoor area for the kangaroos. We exited through here, the walking part, which brings us through the indoor area for the kangaroos, which of course these doors can be closed as if they need to, but we can just step outside here. And before we look to the right, we look to our left for things we have missed, and that is our exhibit for the Somali wild donkey. And this exhibit inspired by the zoo by the Wilhelma, the zoo of Stuttgart, which have a similar barrier set up as we do here, with this very low barrier and then the water which goes down, so the animals can't really reach you. I think in the Wilhelma it's even closer to the shore, so you could touch the Somali wild ass there. And yeah, I really like the idea, really found that really cool and inspiring, so I tried to recreate that. And this are our Somali wild ass standing in the background there in this very forested part, which I really like, that despite them being from the desert and arid regions, you have this very forested habitat over here, which probably was a habitat for different species in the past, and now they repurposed it for the species, and that is how they sometimes get. Are you okay, guys? You're not moving at all. And no one is sleeping, but you guys are just like standing around. That's fine. I really like the concept of having animals that maybe that habitat that is maybe not perfectly fitted for the animals living inside, but repurposed because we had the space and wanted to use it. But last quick track back we have to do is this side of the habitat, because I want to show you all the views. We also have this little activity for kids where they can try to jump as fast as far as a kangaroo, as a red kangaroo, which can jump up to 9 meters, which is pretty crazy. And I don't know if I could jump that far. Maybe 2 meters, maybe 3. I don't know. Haven't jumped in a long time. So you also have our peccaries on this side. Hello, guys. And then we will end up again at the zoo lab on this side, with another view of the red kangaroos. Hello, there you are. Proving my point, basically. But let's move along this path and see what other adventures await us. So we speed through a little bit and we get to our exhibit for the wild water buffalo, or in this case it would be the domesticated, because no zoo I think is holding wild water buffalo. A species I really like, and I wanted to include here at all costs. And it's a very simple exhibit, as most buffalo exhibits are, because the buffaloes trample everything down. If you don't keep it in check, they will just destroy everything. We have our mud baths at the bottom. We have a little bit of different substrate behind there for some different enrichment. Basically, we have some feeders hanging around, and then we can do a quick jump on the other side to look at their bathing area, which sadly for some reason doesn't work, but also does work. The game says they can exit it. Maybe you're proving my point now, right? No, you don't. They don't go into it. I don't know why. The game says they can go into it, but they don't do it, which is super weird. But maybe you find out if you get your hands on this game on this Zoom, maybe you can find out what is wrong with it. I didn't manage to figure it out, but they could. Theoretically, they should be able to use this bathing area. It would be really cool if they would too. But let's turn around to look at the last animal of the Australia area, which is the Tasmanian devil. This is one of the habitats that we have. We have 2 habitats for them. We can separate them. I don't know if there's one on this side. Maybe I guess they're all on the other side. And there's also part of the last meal lying around here. If you want to know the backstory behind the skull, I highly recommend watching the speed build of this habitat. There I talked in length about why there is a skull there. There's one. We have one sleeping in our little den over here. And then we can enter the boardwalk, where we can also get another look at the kangaroo exhibit on this side. If you don't want to enter the walkthrough exhibit, you can also view them from here if you're a little bit scared about the kangaroos. And we can follow this boardwalk, where we also get another glimpse at the combat wombat exhibit over here, so you also can see them. You don't miss out on anything if you don't enter the walkthrough. You can see all the animals And yeah, this is our second part of the Tasmanian Devil exhibit, where they're all sleeping apparently, or just one is in. I don't know what happened here. Where my Tasmanian Devils are. Ah, there they are. They're all sleeping. But yeah, a little bit of a lower viewing over here, where you can get up close with the Tasmanian Devils. There they are running. Really, really cool species, and I was very happy that I was able to see them in Copenhagen, exactly in Copenhagen, because they are quite rare in European zoos. So it was really an experience of a lifetime to able to see them. On the other side, we would have their access areas to their indoor area. There's nothing in here, but this is where these two habitats connect and where they could then access the indoor area. And that already brings us, I don't know what you're doing there, but I not ask. What brings us already to the end of the Australia area, and now we enter our last big habitat for the zoo. And yeah, this one is definitely one of my favorites. And that is because it features so many cool animal species, 3 of which you can already see here. The blackbuck, the nilgai, and the pure David's deer, as well as the Indian rhino. And yeah, it's definitely the biggest habitat we have in our zoo, and the one where we have our last naming to do. If I can find the animal that needs to be named, there he goes. Here he is, our male blackbuck. And yeah, that Aussie bloke asked if we could name him Krishna, which according to them means something like dark or black. I think is also an Indian, Indian god. If I'm not totally incorrect, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, here we can already see, I think, most of the animals that are featured in this habitat. We have the nilgai, we have the pure David's deer, the blackbuck, as well as in the rhino. We can also see our albino blackbuck over there. And yeah, it's really, really just a lot of animals and so many cool species in here. Most of them came with the Asia pack, I think. And yeah, it's really cool to finally have them all in the game. And we also have a transport crate here, a rhino transport crate to show how these look, as well as these, I think they are called prayer mills, or prayer wheels. Basically, you go from the side and with your hand you turn all the cylinders around and pray while doing that, and then it will happen, or it's believed that it will happen, or that there's a higher chance of it happening. We will look at the inside of this building in a moment, but first let's jump up here to our viewpoint. Oop, a little bit rough, but here we can get a really up close view of all the animals. Another thing you'll see here, that this is a two-sided habitat. We have 2 parts over here to separate the Indian rhinos, because you shouldn't keep Indian rhinos together apart from breeding season. They are very territorial. So when you are placing the animals, first of all, you need to move the rhinos from this area where they will land. This is, their separation area for the small ungulates here. You will have to move them over to this space over here, because they can't move through the gates, as they shouldn't be able to. And you also need to either place the male or female on this other side, which we will look. My mouse is a little bit weird, which we'll look at in a moment. There you can see the male. You will have to manually move them also to there. As well, you need to move the male pure David's deer from this part over here to here. For some reason they can't cross this border. The females can, the nilgai can, which are much bigger. The nilgai, as you can see in a second here, they can get over pretty easily. The female pure David's deer can. The male can't. The male can't fit through here. Maybe of the antlers, I have no idea. But so you also need to move them over here into this main area, or into that area if you want to. Otherwise it will be stuck behind the scenes, basically in the backstage area part behind there, where the backstage buildings for all the ungulates for the deer, nilgai and the blackbuck are. yeah, so if you want to do that, if you want to have them in here, you have to move them manually, and the rhinos as well, to make them able to use this space. But yeah, it is pretty empty on purpose because we have a lot of herbivores in here, so and also 2 rhinos, so they would trample everything down in days and months, and so the whole habitat is pretty barren, so it's on purpose. Of course, I could make it very large on all the grass, but it wouldn't be really quite unrealistic. And this is also how it looks in the rear zoo, which also is, yeah, just a lot of dirt and sand and some other foliage like these leaves lying around. Otherwise, it's a pretty barren habitat. But yeah, let's move down again and see what's inside the building. Here we have also a viewpoint where we can see where the rhinos enter the building, because this is the Nashorn Park, the Rhinoceros Park as the whole area is called, and that is their indoor space. Which is really, really cool. Looks a bit confusing with all the bars going down here to separate the different areas. And the whole building is, circular and rotated into the mountain. This was a lot of work. You can watch the video, you see me how I struggled with all of that, but it's very much worth it in the end. You have all these different viewpoints. Here you see the bathing areas for the rhinos, because the Indian rhinoceros is very much an aquatic rhino. Here we have the second space for the male or the female, as well as different spaces where we can separate them, put some different corners. We also have some stuff areas behind there with some tools and other things they need to care for the rhinos. And definitely, especially in the summer, this is a very cool and nice and quiet space, and definitely one of my favorite areas in the whole zoo. But yeah, one last thing we have to do before we finish already our tour. I mean, it has been long enough, but it is still, it was over faster than I thought. Here we have the access for the keepers to the backstage, so we move a little bit back past the Tasmanian devils, and we can move up this ramp. Besides the construction site, of course there would be habitats here in the rear zoo, but we can move up this ramp to get to the upper part of the building on the rooftop, where we also have a little cafe over here where you can grab some snacks if you want to. You can also have a look into the backstage area of the rhinos from up here, which is, I think, very cool. And you also get, of course, a prime view, not only to the Tasmanian devils, which are a little bit hidden, but also, of course, over the whole rhino park, the whole Indian setup, Indian area over here, Indian habitat. Seeing all the animals walking around and interacting with each other is very cool. And yeah, here you can, of course, get to the upper roof part, where you can sit down, enjoy your ice cream or whatever they are selling here. And yeah, just enjoy the nature on this side a little bit. But if you're done with that, you of course go down on the other side, follow the path. I will do that a little bit faster. Here we have already a view into the male rhino yard, with also the access gates for them. If we need to separate them, or if we put them together, for example, we can open these gates so they can use both sides of the habitat. And if we follow the path down again, we come to our last stop of the journey. More viewpoints of the rhino area and our second entrance slash exit of the zoo. We also get the pool area for the rhinos, as well as all the other animals. Another look at the backstage area over there. Really love it. Oh yeah. Neil guy using the mud pools, which I really like that they also can do that. Barasinger as well. All of them now flocking here because of us, maybe. But yeah, that will be our last animals of this tour. Last Neil guy. Little sidetrack here. But yeah, now we have our second entrance slash exit on the other side of the zoo. Where we can also enter the zoo if you want to, or this is where your journey ends and you want to grab one last snack over here from this ice cream parlor, where you can sit in the shade and enjoy an ice cream if it's a very hot day. If you have a sit over there, you can of course also enjoy the animals. But yeah, this was our tour of Tiergarten Edelwald, and let's jump out here real quick to look at the whole zoo in its totality. I won't zoom in on specific habitats again, because most of them are empty now, as I said in the beginning, to save performance power. But what a journey it is. And you can really see that I didn't use much space of the map, and all of this here is empty, all of this is empty, all of this is empty apart from some path to simulate the park that would be adjacent to the zoo. All of that you saw in the last, I don't know, 1.5 hours, maybe more, really concentrates on this small part of the map. And yeah, it has so much different zones, so much different things you can see and expect. And I'm really happy how it turned out. I'm really excited that everything came together that well. And a couple times I had thoughts about it not continuing it. My motivation wasn't that high anymore, or I thought, could I even build things like the giraffe house? Is it even possible for me to do? Is it too complicated? But I'm happy I pushed through. I'm happy I dare to jump, so to say, into the cold water, as we say in Germany, to test out my limits, to try to make it possible and end up with this result. And I'm very happy about it. And I hope you guys enjoyed the tour, you guys enjoy the zoo. As I said, it will be on the workshop now for you to experience yourself with and without animals as you please. You can also, of course, swap out the animal species, put in some different animal species if you like to. If you say, I don't like zebras, or I don't like the Indian rhino, I want to have the African rhino in here and African ungulates in here. I want to have this to be an African habitat. You can do that. Again, if you do content with it, if you do post public stuff about it, make sure to at least acknowledge that I built it, that at least maybe even link me into the social media post if it's possible. I would be happy about it, to see people sharing my content, to people doing tours of this zoo, touring my zoo publicly or privately, whatever you want. But if you wanna do that, please at least acknowledge that I have built, because I put in a lot of tears and sweat and blood into it, a lot of work hours, a lot of nights and days working on it. So if you want to do tours, with me, get in contact with me. If you want to have me commentating or talking with you while you're doing the tour, while you are touring it yourself, and you want to be commentating for a video or something like that, let me know. My social medias are open. You can DM me on all the social media platforms if you want to tour with me, and I'm sure we can get to an agreement on how we do it and when we do it. So I'm also open for that, to tour it together with you. And I hope you enjoyed this tour. I hope it wasn't too long, not too boring, to see me talking about all the other stuff that I built once again. And I hope I see you in whatever the next project will be. I have no idea yet if there will be another big project, probably not for Plan Zoo 1 or some smaller one-off builds. If I will wait till Plan Zoo 2 drops and go then into a bigger project again. I still have some ideas of what I want to do, of some habitats I want to build, or see some habitats I want to recreate, build myself. So there might be some videos coming out. I don't know yet for sure. I have made no definitive plans to everything. You will see, you will notice on my channel. And until then, I hope you had a grand time with the tour. I hope I see lots of you enjoying the zoo yourself, maybe see some videos about it. And I hope I see all of you in the next video. And until then, that you stay safe, that you have a wonderful time with yourself, your loved ones, your friends, whoever you want to spend your time with. Even if it's yourself, only yourself, that is totally fine. But I wish you a wonderful time with that, and I hope I see you in the next one. And until then, I wish all of you a great and wonderful and thankful bye and see you the next time.